You guys remember the guy known as Lord Boros from One Punch Man anime manga, right? I think we all remember him as the being that survived Saitama's One Punch themed characteristic without dying after one punch because of his regeneration and stuff of that such. Boros is a being from outer space that has a gigantic spaceship that's like the size of a town or multiple towns or a city. Reminded me on some Star Destroyer type stuff, looking at how big this spaceship is. Beings that accompanied him on this ship were dark matter thieves, one could say his subordinates that are underlings of him. Boros leads a band of thieves known as dark matter. He's here because of a prophecy that somebody would give him a challenge. Because Boros is so powerful, there's no one left in the universe to face him. So like Saitama, he was bored. That's when a seer pretty much said he's going to have a fight that he will enjoy on this planet 20 years ago. This is interesting because there's characters in the Hero Association in the One Punch Man universe. I would love to see Boros face, but of course he never got to face him because of reasons like Saitama beating him. There's beings in the S-Class I would have loved to see them fight, like top tiers like Blast, the #1 hero in the S-Class that stands above all apparently. Of course not above Saitama, of course, but would have been nice to see how those type of battles played out. But let's analyze how strong Boros is, right? Just like you might have guessed, he has a base form where he looks like this, then he ends up looking like this, and then he ends up looking like this. All forms have one eye, you know. The reason why he has forms like this is because he literally wears armor that suppresses his overwhelming power. When they talk about his final form, they say this about how it increases speed and power beyond his body's limits, explained in the lore by releasing internal energy as propulsive force. This is one of them forms that he doesn't pull out often because it places a large burden on his body. The whole point of it is to end the fight quickly. Encyclopedia pretty much talks about and shows that he has energy projection, regenerative powers. His species is the reason why they have great healing, because survive with harsh environments, greatest healing in the universe. He explains it like this on how he can concentrate his energy on his destroyed arm and make it brand new. That's why you see him get hit by Saitama and get injured this bad. Even when Saitama hits him on a consecutive normal punches, it splits him up, but Boros is able to regenerate. And stuff I've already mentioned about how he's the leader of the Dark Matter Interstellar Bandits who have taken over the universe. His species survived on a planet with harsh environment and have the best natural healing powers in the universe, which is the main reason why he was able to survive so many punches from Saitama. And as you know, in the One Punch Man universe, there's this thing known as disaster ranks. In the data book, they call him a disaster level dragon. You guys already know where I'm going with this. The disaster ranks go like this in the One Punch Man universe. Dragon is a bare minimum threat level to multiple cities. That definitely makes sense for the stuff I'm going to show you for Boros. So he has the standard stuff like incredible speed, fighting speed, reflexes, incredible punching power or kicking power, just being able to strike you extremely hard and fast in general. Just to give you an idea of how hard he can punch, you see him punching Saitama, the main character here, and he goes through thick pillars with his punching power. This pretty much proves he can definitely punch through buildings easily because he goes through a thick pillar like this and then proceeds to go to another pillar punching Saitama that hard. Obviously, Saitama's fine, but yeah, it just shows how hard he can punch. Just from Boros spamming a whole bunch of punches on Saitama, they start messing up the environment as collateral with speed and power, just as a collateral of them fighting. A good example of his punching power is this occasion where he cleared up all the clouds in the area. Boom! And since it's confirmed that Boros is a dragon level threat, a being that's a threat to multiple cities, that does not seem to be an exaggeration considering we literally seen him punch Saitama so hard, and the blast was so massive from the collateral of his punch mixed with blast power at the same time. Like, this is how it looks compared to the city. Like, you see all of this mess surrounding him, all of this. It's moments like this that pretty much hammered home the fact that he is a threat for multiple cities. He could definitely blow away a city if he really just wanted to. Whether it's punches, he can definitely trample islands, or one could say delete them, kick a city apart with his strikes or energy projection, depending on what he wants to do to get rid of the city. If his higher form can do this when he's suppressed, bare minimum in his base state, I definitely think his base state can definitely tremble or blow up mountains with punches or strikes easily, right? I mean, you got to think of it like this. If one of his bullets from his ship can level a mountain or something, and all of the bullets on his ship shooting at the same time can level a city, this would add up with his lore if we assume Boros is actually a mightier threat than his own ship when it comes to the raw power or firepower it can produce. And when Boros punched Saitama here, look how big the impact of his punch caused, even comparison to his ship. Speaking of his ship, remember how big it is compared to a city. You guys remember how I said Boros has blast power, energy projection? Well, yeah, he has energy projection released from his chest. Blast was mighty. It was supposed to incinerate even his bones. But instead, look what it did to Boros' ship to show how much collateral he can produce, making explosions like basically dang near close to the size of a city, especially knowing how big this ship is. The anime version of it looks like this, punching so hard, causing this much collateral damage to the environment. Yeah, citywide scale. Look how it does to a ship when he's battling Saitama, melting stuff around him. It gets crazier when Boros uses his mightiest mode to achieve power beyond his normal limits, something he doesn't always use because it pushes his body to the edge. He hit Saitama with so much raw power with a kick that he sent Saitama all the way from the surface of the planet all the way to the freaking moon with a single freaking kick. To kick somebody some astronomical distances like this would take an absurd amount of power, but at the same time, it's kind of hard to calculate. We don't have an exact time period, but it wasn't long. It was like literally in the panel. The power to be able to kick him at over hundreds of thousands of miles pretty much proved the whole statements about him being a dragon level threat, being a threat to multiple cities, kicking a grown man that far. So one can say in forms like this, he can not only level multiple cities, especially since this is one of his highest forms, but his strikes could level a few countries or two, trimble continents or delete certain continents to be able to kick somebody to the moon that dang near almost instantly with one attack. But it doesn't stop here. But when Boros is going all out, releasing all his energy, it will blow away him. Apparently, it didn't work on Saitama, of course, but it was stated it will blow away the planet's surface. Just doesn't seem like an exaggeration when you consider what other S-class heroes could do, what other dragon level beings can have done. We've seen dragon level threats like this, for example, blast, and they fuse together, do stuff like this to continents or the planet's crest. So Boros saying he can eliminate the surface of the planet when we've seen beings later on in the future that are dragon level threats do something like this when they're fused together. It kind of makes sense with Boros' lore. For this attack, the collapsing star roaring cannon to be legit, mighty enough to blow away the planet's surface. Which means if Boros wanted to, one can say he can blow away multiple continents, not just cities. Since One Punch Man exists in a world that's not like our Earth, we can go by their map of their world or how their worlds look. Boros should be able to technically eliminate an entire continent, basically, if it's a huge continent like this, for example, the surface of the planet at least. I mean, here's an example of how these cities look in the One Punch Man universe, so just give you an idea of that. Based on all this information, Boros should be able to cause catastrophic destruction to the moon, at least if he can level multiple continents. If we were to take that statement about him living in the planet's surface seriously, there's nothing really that would contradict it to say this statement isn't true, really. Speaking of his energy projection, it seems that he releases some electric looking attacks or aura around himself when he powers up, or this could be just how it looks. Looks electric like. Man, he's way faster than the speed of sound and supersonic. He's a dragon level threat. When it comes to his fighting speed, he's pretty strong. You have to really respect him, honestly. But before I get going, I gotta say thanks for the donations, everybody. Helps out a lot. Respect Lord Boros. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.